Hey guys, it's Liz from Blue and Hazel. Welcome to my homeschool YouTube channel, and today's video I want to share with you everything I have planned out for our 4th grade homeschool curriculum. This is our 6th year if you are new here. It's our 6th year homeschooling and our 2nd year doing Ambleside Online, which is a Charlotte Mason homeschool curriculum. It's not online, it's actually book-based, and so we read a lot of books and then my kids narrate or tell back what they've read from those books. And then there are a lot of just kind of extra pieces and parts that go along with that as well, which I will share with you in this video. We have 4 kids, and so my daughter in 4th grade is my 2nd oldest, and she's kind of tagging behind and combining a few things with my 5th grader, which I also have a video on everything we're using for 5th grade. I will link that in the description for you, as well as all of my other Ambleside Online content. Let's go ahead and check out what books we're starting with, and then at the end I will go ahead and share what we're using for math and our extra kind of family subjects. So for the most part, we are following the Ambleside Online book list here. I also have a separate one for my 5th grader, and this is free on their website. It comes with 36 weeks of planned out what to read when material. So we have each of the subjects is on the side here, and then week 1 through week 12. So what I basically do for her is I go through and see approximately what we need to read that week, and then I take out whatever's family style, and then I kind of divide the other books between what we need to read for that week. And some of these, if I flip through the pages and I say, you know, we cannot read that in one sitting, I'll split that into 2 or more readings in a week. So that's kind of how we divide our time. Feel free, like I said, to check out my Ambleside Online videos. I go into way more detail on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you what we're using for our history reads. Once again, we don't have just a textbook style for our history, and we're not using family style for our history, which is one of the either pros or cons, depending on what you like about Ambleside Online. So each child is in their own history year. I think it's really hard to do that when you have multiple kids that are young. And I think once you launch a child around, 4th, 5th grade, once they're reading more on their own, then this is starting to feel doable. So as long as my 5th grader can be fairly independent, I think that these books will be all right for me to help read to my 4th grader. We'll use some audio, and I will also be reading some to her, and really encouraging her to start reading some of these as she can on her own. Here is the stack of history books. I will show you the covers and titles of them in more detail. For history, we have This Country of Ours, The Story of the United States. This is volume 2. The original This Country of Ours, I think, was one long book, and then Donna Jean Breckenridge went ahead and kind of updated some of the content and split them into what I believe is going to be 4 total volumes. And so she's writing the 4th one currently, but this is going to be our spine for the history of the United States, chapter by chapter, and I believe it's about a chapter a week that they're reading. Answering the Cry for Freedom, Stories of African Americans in the American Revolution. This is a really cool book that my son just kind of dabbled in some different people that we hadn't heard of last year. We didn't read the whole thing, and we didn't even get to all of these scheduled chapters with him, but definitely a neat book, and she will be starting that somewhere around halfway through the year, I think. The next one that is an easier read, and my son really enjoyed last year, was The Ocean of Truth, the story of Sir Isaac Newton, and you can kind of see inside what that looks like. There's some pictures. Okay, so Abigail Adams is one that is a question mark for me, mainly because my son did not enjoy this one. We ended up not finishing it for him. My daughter, however, was in the other room listening here and there, and she said she was excited to read this next year, which is now her 4th grade year. And so if she's into this and enjoying it, we will read this together. It's going to be told from the viewpoint of Abigail Adams, and so we'll be really learning from a different, from a woman's standpoint at this point in history. Then we have Poor Richard, and this is the story of Benjamin Franklin, so she will become well acquainted with him by the end of this year through this book. And then George Washington's World. This was one that kind of gives a snippet of what's happening in his life and also in other people's lives around the world and events that are happening in this time period. It's a very cool book, and you really do, a few chapters a week, and I think this starts like halfway through the school year, if I remember right. So that's what we're going to be reading for history. She also made a history timeline last year, and I have a video I will link in the description of just exactly how we did this, but once a week or so, she and her older brother are going to be putting events on their timelines, and so it just opens up real big like this. And this is one way that she's been able to kind of make connections through the different books that we're reading, or the composers or the artists that we have read about. And so she knows once a week she has to put something on there, and we did not do it every week last year. That's the goal, but really it came out to like probably every other week, to be honest. And so we will add that, and they can kind of start to see the connections of who lived at the same time. And we do it really simply. We don't use any pre-cut out cards or anything. She just draws a quick little picture of something that was important to her about that time period or that person, and then labels the date. So the date and then who it was or what it was. So that's a fun project we'll kind of continue for a few years, I think. All right, up next, let me show you our geography plan. What we have for that is Men of the Mississippi, and this is an Ambleside Online scheduled read. And we have enjoyed all of these books so much. Every single reading has pictures, usually some very detailed drawings, labeled. Some of them have maps inside. And if you're part of the Ambleside Online Facebook group, be sure to head to their files section, and you can print out some really cool maps of just where they are in this story. This would be an example of one of the printed pages that we used last year, and it's still in the book here. And the next two books that are part of our geography, loosely part of our geography plan, I should say, would be Home Geography by C.C. Long and Elementary Geography by Charlotte Mason. Ambleside has scheduled these slowly, drip by drip, over several years, and each kid is supposed to have their own couple chapters a term that they're reading from these books. That is too much for my brain. With 3 kids and 3 levels, I'm just not going to do it that way. So we'll probably do this family style, and I will go honestly just be starting from the front and reading through this. Unless that doesn't work as we start, I could pick chapter by chapter, but we will do these together family style and just cover what we cover. Let me show you a few chapters in here just to give you an idea of what is in here. You'd have maybe how the sun shows direction, how the compass shows direction, how to tell distance, plains, hills, mountains, and valleys, rain, wind, and snow, how water is changed to vapor, how vapor is changed to water, dew, clouds, and rain, and lots more, maps, the river, forms of land and water. So you get the idea, just kind of a nice assortment of topics in here. Now, 2 pieces of gold that I highly recommend I got last year. These are, I think, from Rainbow Resources. I got a US map and a world map. And so one of the ways that we do geography is that anytime we read something in a book, because we are reading, like you saw, a lot of books for our curriculum, then they can stop and go find it on the map. And this is something that they're not going to do on their own unless I remind them, generally speaking. And I think because what we're doing is all about making connections, this is super helpful, along with that timeline is also really helpful in kind of bringing the connecting parts to all the books we're reading. So for science, one book that we have is called The Storybook of Science, and this is an older book. We will not be reading all the chapters because Ambleside doesn't schedule all the chapters. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but we're just trusting the process and following their schedule. My son loved this book last year. It is an easy read. It follows some kids who are asking questions about how things work and what's going on, and they get these very awesome simplified answers. We also were able to get a Yodo card made of this one. So I don't know if you know what the Yodo cards are, but I love this. It's a lifeline in our homeschool, and I have a video on how we make our own Yodo cards. So I'll link that for you. But we also are going to be starting Madam How and Lady Why by Charles Kingsley, also an older book. And this is more of like an earth science book, and it goes very slowly. And you only read about half of this for this year, and then 5th grade you read the other half. So they'll be going over this. I think a really helpful thing I learned last year is that while you're reading about these different landforms and things that they're talking about, it really helps to look up pictures of what those things are, especially if they're new terms that they've never heard before. And then we also have Gregor Mendel, The Friar Who Grew Peas. This was a super awesome science book that my son finished in a couple days last year. but this would be a really great family read aloud or just something that she could read on her own. As far as science goes, family style, we've always done nature study together, and that has morphed over the years for us, what that looks like. This last year, I think we just kind of put that on the back burner a little bit, and I want to bring it back out again. And so we've used Exploring Nature with Children in the past, and this is a fantastic curriculum. I cannot recommend it enough. I used this when the kids were really little, especially more in full, because we were in a co-op for a couple years where this was like the primary thing we followed. However, I think this year, as I mentioned in my 5th grade video, we'll be using this to help us just pick topics about once a month. And I do need to spend some time and decide which ones that I want to go through so that I can plan accordingly to get some books on it. We have the Handbook of Nature Study this year, so I can use that if I need to. But picture books are especially helpful, and she has all the ones in here for that. Being outside in nature is probably the number one thing. Like, what do you see? And actually giving the kids time to observe. And then the thing I am so excited about this year, I've wanted to do this for a while because I have an aunt who did this with her students. We are going to start some plant journals. And so I have purchased a flower pressing kit. I cannot wait to do this with my kids. This is kind of sort of a present to myself, but they will also be using this. So it's a really nice flower pressing kit. I will link that in the description for you. I did some research on how to get those pressed plants into a journal. So I bought them each one of these journals I found in a 3-pack, and then this is a type of glue that is very gentle. We will be pressing plants, labeling them, and listing where we found them. Okay, so for literature this year, we're switching things up a little bit from what my last year's 4th grader did. I'm giving myself permission to just do what I feel is right in our homeschool and in our book lists and swap things out if I want to. There are just so many good books out there that we won't get to. I don't feel bad about swapping these out. So Robinson Crusoe was a scheduled read that my son did last year for Ambleside Online, 4th grade. We're gonna take that out because honestly, my daughter was listening in a ton. She was tracking a lot of the plot, maybe not all of it, and she didn't narrate that because it wasn't her year, but she didn't want to do it again, and I don't blame her. So we are going to swap that out for Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I found this free recording on LibriVox and turned it into a make your own card on a Yodo. And so this will be her independent literature listen. And we are also doing a new thing this year for our literature picks that I will not be having my kids narrate the literature choices this year. So Ambleside Online has recommended that we narrate every scheduled read, which is more of a Charlotte Mason style homeschooling if that is new to you. They read the books and then they tell back what they remember and what stood out to them in the books. So for Ambleside Online, that's just part of what they recommend. Simply Charlotte Mason is another Charlotte Mason homeschool curriculum group that actually recommends not narrating the literature reads and just enjoying them. And so just to lighten my load, to lighten my kids' load a little bit, last year felt like a lot for us going from having never used Charlotte Mason curriculum to doing narrating a lot with different levels. We are going to cut that out for literature. So this is literally just her listening to these great stories and enjoying them. The next thing that we're doing that is different this year with my 4th grader is that I am going to be kind of combining her with my 2nd graders' literature picks from Ambleside Online. They're fabulous picks, and she hasn't read any of those books yet, nor have I. And so we are going to be using my 2nd graders' literature picks for our morning time read, which I will show you in a moment. But we basically read a chapter every morning from some book that we're going through. And so currently we're reading Understood Betsy. So that will be kind of a literature pick that we'll be reading as a family and not narrating. And that comes from the 2nd grade Ambleside Online schedule. However, my now 4th grader hasn't read it. So I'm just kind of squishing them together and combining them and saying, we'll get through this in morning time. The second literature read on my 2nd graders list that I'm going to count for my 4th grader by reading to them out loud together, The Wind in the Willows. And I got this beautiful version here. This is unabridged and just has awesome illustrations inside. All right, and then quickly the other ones she'll be reading this year. The Incredible Journey This is in the 3rd term, and she will not narrate from this one. Rip Van Winkle, though I think I'm going to go to the library and try to find a picture book on this one. And then The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So those are some of the scheduled ones we will cover. And then for 4th grade math, we are going to continue on Math with Confidence, Level 4. We love this curriculum. I have a ton of videos on Math with Confidence, and my daughter has used this since, I think, 1st grade. And so this is just something that I really enjoy teaching because I feel like it gives me the confidence to know how to teach it. It's scripted, full of games, and the teacher's guide right here is where the bulk of the lesson and learning comes from. There's a lot of hands-on, a lot of games, but it doesn't take too much time. You know, I'd say like anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes instruction, and then she has 2 pages that are independent of me. And there's a part A for the first half of the year and a part B student workbook for the second half of the year. And we have become very familiar with the style, and so we're just gonna continue on using that. If you want more in-depth videos, be sure to check the math playlist that I'll put in the description. The one area I feel like Math with Confidence is lacking is story problems and word problems. So I have purchased this one, Primary Mathematics Challenging Word Problems, Level 2. Last year I got the Level 1 book, and it was very, very easy, which is fine. I feel like it's still good for her to process through how to create equations and solve problems, even if it's easy. Level 2 feels much more on par with just what she's learning, multiplication and division, and there are fractions and some of the things she learned last year in 3rd grade. And so I feel like because we haven't had a ton of story problems, we will just once in a while pull this out if we have a light day and do probably 1 page, which maybe has 3 problems on it, maybe has 2 problems. The next thing I wanted to show you is what we're doing in our morning time together in kind of family style. Sometimes this turns into afternoon time if we don't get it in the morning, but I usually start the day with this. We're always gonna have a Bible story. This is what we read from Egermeyer's Bible story book, and we just really enjoy the detail of this storybook. I think the kids have learned a ton from it. We do a question from New City Catechism, and what that looks like inside is it has every day we read a question and the answer, and then there's a Bible verse down here kind of relating to the answer. We have a poem. Usually we do 1 to 2 poems from our poetry book. I just bought some of Ambleside Online's poetry anthology books, so this particular one says volume 3, but really we could pick any year because I'm combining my kids rather than having my year 2 do his own, and my year 4 do her own, and my year 5 do his own. We're just all doing them together during morning time. And then for hymns, we'll do Ambleside Online's rotation, I think, for the most part. However, I don't think I want to sing the same hymn every single day. We'll probably pick 2 and flip-flop every other day, just to learn 2 in a month, and give us a little variety, I think. So then we have a read aloud that we do together. So every day I aim to do a chapter from a read aloud. I pulled a literature pick, like I said, from my 2nd graders thing. We're doing family style. And then when we finish this one, we will just pick another literature read, probably Wind in the Willows next. And then when we finish that one, we will open another book, whatever it is we feel like we want to read together. Another part of our morning time that we have really enjoyed together is art study. And I think this is just so simple to do. These are from Simply Charlotte Mason, and I love the high quality prints that they give you in here. You can see they're shiny and thick and just really nice prints. And so we're not gonna follow Ambleside Online's rotation for artists, but we will pick 1 per term, and then we will probably every other week pull out a new beautiful picture. We'll look at it, talk about it, hopefully learn a tiny bit, just a blurb about the artist and his life, and then hang it up on the wall for everybody to see for the next couple weeks. So there are a couple other books for 4th grade I don't really have a schedule for, to be honest. And I'm not sure exactly when we'll do this, but one is Trial and Triumph, and this is one that Ambleside schedules for, I think like over the course of 6 years. And so they have done a good job at trying to coordinate people within the time period you're studying. But because I want to do this family style for my time and sanity, we'll probably pick a person maybe every few weeks and just read about that person. These are just really great stories of Christian martyrs and heroes who have stood up for their faith over time, and just very encouraging stories. So I think that'll be a once a month thing. I'll probably need to mark that on my calendar because I'm learning that if I don't mark it down, I forget to do it. Same goes for Tales from Shakespeare. This is one we started last year and really liked it. It was our first intro to Shakespeare, and although Ambleside recommends having my older kids read the actual plays, I think that what we're gonna do is just stick to the kind of retold version that doesn't have all of the crazy vocabulary and long play written out yet. We'll probably dabble in that later, but I think this just works for us for now. All right, so for language arts, what we are gonna be doing, which is a huge part of our Charlotte Mason kind of approach to homeschooling right now, is we're gonna be doing daily copy work, and my daughter just actually copies something for 10 minutes directly from a book into a notebook. So I got her a notebook here that she can keep all things written in. I didn't want a bunch of different notebooks for her. I just thought, let's just keep it simple and do one. And so we'll do our daily copy work in here. Then we are also going to be venturing into written narration this year. So she, for the most part, learned and did great last year with oral narration for all of her readings. And once you reach the 4th grade level, that's when we start doing a once a week written narration. And so she can pick whichever one she wants from whichever book she wants and do a written narration in here. There's a fabulous book called Know and Tell by Karen Glass that's like gonna hold your hand through narration and going from oral to written and helping you know how to do that with different aged kids. We will also be doing dictation through All About Spelling. I'm not gonna do anything separate for dictation where I speak something to her and she has to write down and practice remembering the spelling from what I have said and the punctuation and everything. We're just gonna combine that because it really is in here. They have her practice writing those spelling words in initially just words and later on in sentences. We're gonna start her on level 1. I think this is perfect. She's gonna fly through this because I really wanted to start her later than earlier when she had been reading more and the words look correct. And so we'll be doing this. There's only 20 some lessons in level 1. I have a video on how this went with my son after we finished. If you want to see that, I will leave that link in the description for you. We loved All About Spelling. The one thing I'm doing different with her, and now also with my 5th grader who's doing level 3, is we are not using all of those terrible little tiles that get lost and take forever to rearrange. We're just using the app. It was 20 bucks and a huge time saver. So we're gonna be using that for her instead. If we finish this early, that's 1 lesson a week. If we just do level 1, that's fine. If we wanna go faster, we'll dab into level 2. Fix-It Grammar is the next thing I got for her and my 5th grader this year. Basically, once a week, I go in my teacher's guide, teach them something from there, and then they spend the week pointing out whatever it says to mark. So in this particular sentence, she had to mark 2 nouns, and then she had to fix 1 capital and 1 end mark. So it tells you what to mark here, and then what to fix. And once you've edited that, and it's practicing editing and practicing looking for what's wrong, then you have to write it correctly down here. This is done 4 days a week if you want to follow it as scheduled. It has taken my kids maybe less than 5 minutes a day to do, and so I think that that'll just be kind of a daily thing 4 days a week for them. What I don't know exactly is if we're gonna do copy work less amount of time or fewer days because now they're copying that sentence. I don't know. If it's feeling burdensome and I need to take something out, I can decrease our copy work. Next, we're gonna be loosely using Grammarland, and I have read 2 chapters in this. We're gonna pause, probably wait a month, and then do the rest of the chapters once a month or so. So this is a great way to learn parts of speech. I had seen it thrown around in Charlotte Mason circles, and I can see why, because it's just a fabulous little book. These words are all fighting for their parts of speech that they want to belong to, and they have to prove why they get to be part of this part of speech and why they get to claim these words. They have to do that in front of a judge, and it's just a very fun way to learn about it, but not something that we'll do all the time, probably once a month here. Again, I'm gonna need to schedule this because all of these once a month things are gonna get lost in the wind if I don't put it down on a calendar. Okay, and then next up I wanted to show you, we're doing a memory book for my 4th grader and my 2nd, 5th grader, and I'm so excited for this because we've done it before and it's a gem to look at what they put in here. And so they decorate the cover. This would be like something we would do first week of school. And then we do an all about me page, favorite memory from summer, favorite food, what do you want to be when you grow up? All those kind of questions. Just printed something off online that was free. And then every single month I want to have the kids put in a memory. So like I remember my kids had, you know, basketball was one thing that they put on there. Learning how to ski was another one. One person had put like a roller coaster thing that they had gone on. And so it was just a really neat way to see what stood out to them, and kind of a fun keepsake. All right, that's everything I have for my 4th grader this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out for her. And if you have any questions or other videos you want to see, leave me a comment. I'd love to know. Also, if you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you follow along. Be sure to hit that bell as well if you want to know when I upload new videos. And thanks for watching. Till next time.